Governor Bobby Jindal, good morning to you in Baton Rouge. It's good to have you back on our program here in America's Newsroom. What do you think of the short clip
Bill.
we
Thanks
just...
for having me.
You're welcome. What do you think of the short clip we just played there? What appears to be the Romney team and their response to the hits on Bain Capital?
Well, two things. One, I think it goes to two themes of this campaign. One, it contrasts the fact that President Obama hasn't run anything before he was elected president of the United States. Never ran a state, never ran a business, never ran a lemonade stand. This job's too important for on-the-job training. In contrast, Mitt Romney's been a successful governor, a successful businessman. He's got the executive experience. But it also goes to a second point. President Obama simply cannot run on his record. The reality is 23 million Americans unemployed, underemployed, simply have left the workforce. President Obama cannot ask the American people, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? He's going to have to savagely attack Mitt Romney. We've seen the start of that this week, and now you're seeing Mitt Romney respond, which I think is a very good thing.
There are Republicans who say they weren't quite sure that Mitt Romney and his team were prepared for, I guess, the onslaught against Bain. And this goes back over his political history for the past 18 years. Were you one of them who was concerned about that?
Look, this is nothing new. Ted Kennedy has tried this. It was tried in the Republican primaries. The reality is there are over 20 weeks left in this campaign. I think every week you're going to see a new attack out of the Obama White House simply because he can't run on his record. You know, President Obama promised several things. He promised he'd cut the deficit in half by the end of his first term. Not going to happen. 4 years of trillion-dollar-plus deficits in a row. He promised if we passed this stimulus, unemployment would be below 8%. Not going to happen. 39 months in a row plus 8% plus unemployment. He promised he would reform the entitlement programs. He'd have a plan to save Social Security and Medicare. Not going to happen. He promised if we passed Obamacare, he would reduce health care insurance premiums $2,500 for the average American family. Again, not going to happen. Premiums are going up, not down. You've got broken promise after broken promise. So, you know, last week it was what did Mitt Romney do in high school? This week it's Bain Capital. Next week, who knows? Maybe they'll attack something. The reality is President Obama is going to have to distort his record.
That's the way politics works. But again, I think the last time we talked, you were a Rick Perry guy.
Absolutely.
And now you talk as if you're firmly in Mitt Romney's camp, and you've been mentioned to be a possibility on his ticket. Do you help him, do you believe, as a VP?
Look, this isn't about who's VP. It's about the vision going forward for America. I'm firmly in the Mitt Romney camp because we've got two choices in this election. It's not about dogs. It's not about high school. It's not about Bain. It's about the future of America. President Obama has already increased the federal government to 24% of our economy. We're heading towards the European socialist-type governments we see in Greece and other countries that are nearing bankruptcy. You contrast that with Mitt Romney offering a limited role for the federal government, a reinvigorated private sector economy. This election is really not about cute TV ads. It's not about who looks best on TV. It's about two very different visions for America. I'm supporting Mitt Romney because this is about preserving the American dream for our children. President Obama's had 4 years. We're not better off than we were 4 years ago. We can't afford another $1 trillion of debt. We can't afford another 4 years of President Obama.
On that last point there, especially when it comes to debt, and the last question, the last point I have with you here. He's in Iowa today, Mitt Romney is, talking about debt and talking about spending. How powerful of an argument can he make when contrasting his record with President Obama's?
Well, look, I think he can show in Massachusetts when he was governor, the unemployment rate was below the national average. He can show that per capita income grew faster than the national average. He can also provide his detailed plans that shows he wants to return discretionary spending back to the pre-Obama levels. He also wants to cap the federal government spending at 20%. He's got a very detailed plan. President Obama's got 4 years of broken promises. We have seen what 4 years of President Obama means. It means spending money we can't afford. Mitt Romney has offered a very detailed plan to shrink government and grow the private sector.
And all these polls are so close. I assume you agree with the polls. This nation is split 50-50, and it will be very tight come November. Governor, thank you for your time today, okay?
Thank you very much.
Bobby Jindal in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.